Once, long ago, possibly even before you were born, there lived a beautiful old crone. She had long white hair that was as thick and healthy as the snow on the mountain, and eyes of beautiful blue like the early evening sky. She walked through the city streets with long, quick strides. She was youthful and helpful and friendly to everyone she met. She was known far and wide as La Bruja, for they knew she was a witch. And there were those who would begin to speak of her being in league with the devil because of her unusual ways. But all this kind of talk died down pretty quickly. She was always so kind, always so helpful. La Bruja knew how to help others, to help those in her community. She could sing a sick cow back to health, help a stuck baby with magic herbs, and look into her crystal ball. Her greatest magic was her kind, enchanting smile. One evening, La Bruja was sat at the table with a lovesick boy, trying to help him have the confidence to speak to his love. There was a loud banging at the door, and La Bruja, as she did any time of day, any day, walked gladly to the door, wearing her enchanting smile. In marched 10 policemen and their captain. They surrounded her, tied her hands with a rope, and began marching her out of her front door. She called back to the boy, "Don't worry about me. Drink that potion and remember to ask Maria to the next dance." Then she turned her attentions to the policemen. She smiled at each of them, and each of them recalled a memory of a way that she had helped them. One remembered her handing him his firstborn daughter, saved from the noose of her own cord. Another remembered sitting at La Bruja's table just as the young man did now, also lovesick and asking for help. The captain smiled at La Bruja in response. He too had a good memory of her kindness. He held out his arm and helped her into the wagon. They took her to the judge's chamber. In the judge's chamber, the judge stood behind a high desk on a tall step. "Ah, so you have found the old witch," he said. But as he did, he looked at La Bruja, who smiled her enchanting smile. Well, he shook his head, he banged his gavel, and he said, "No witch will live in this city, no matter how beautiful she is." La Bruja went right on smiling her beautiful, enchanting smile. The judge looked into her eyes. He swore he could see stars sparkling. But he shook his head, he banged his gavel, and he said, "No witch will live in this city, no matter how lovely she is." And La Bruja went on smiling her enchanting smile. The judge thought her hair looked like a beautiful waterfall. He shook his head. He banged his gavel 3 times and he said, "No witch will live in this city or put me under her spell, no matter how much I wish she would. Now take her down to the 3rd cellar. I'm not going to change my mind." So the policeman led La Bruja down the first layer of cold stone steps, down the second layer of cold, narrow stone steps, down into the cold, damp 3rd cellar. They took her to her cell, and as she stood at the front door of it, the gateway, the opening, she saw nothing but a narrow bed and a pot-bellied stove. Yet she still smiled to herself. The captain turned to La Bruja. "We are so sorry, La Bruja. We do not want to leave you here. You have helped us so much with your magic." He sent 2 of the policemen off, one to fetch a blanket, the other to fetch a soft velvet chair for La Bruja. You mustn't worry about me, she said. You have been so kind, and for this kindness I will put my blessing on each and every one of you. All of you, you and your loved ones will all live long, healthy, happy lives. She kissed each of them on the forehead and waved them goodbye. And she settled down in the soft velvet chair. Now, after a few days, the judge got to thinking that perhaps after being down there in the cold cellar, La Bruja would eventually confess to being a witch. So he decided to pay her a visit. He opened the cellar door. When he looked inside, he was astonished at what he saw. So astonished that he sat down immediately in the soft velvet chair. La Bruja had been drawing with charcoal from the stove on the wall a huge black crow with a basket on its back. The judge was so astounded. La Bruja, he said, you are an artist. Kind words, Judge, said La Bruja. Kind words. Can you tell me, though, if you look at this drawing carefully, can you see, is there anything missing? Is there anything else I should add to my drawing? The judge studied the drawing. Every feather of the crow was perfect. They shimmered, iridescent even. The beak, sharp and shiny, the eye glinting. Everything was perfect. He said as much to La Bruja. He said, this drawing is utterly perfect. It looks as if it's going to fly right off the wall. The only thing that seems to be missing is someone to sit on the basket on the crow's back. Good eye, Judge, said La Bruja. Good eye. With that said, she held her hand up to the drawing, and as she did, she gave a soft laugh. Now, what happened next is so unbelievable, you may not believe it. La Bruja stepped into the basket on the crow's back. A good strong lifting wind blew through the room, and the crow sailed across the wall into the corner and poof, disappeared. The judge stood up from the chair. He shook his head. He walked to the wall. He patted it. He patted it and patted it. The wall was solid. The crow was gone. And so was the beautiful crow.